And we now pick up with another set of financial results, also interims. Tongaat Hulett reported a slight decline in its interim earnings, a fall that came despite a 6% increase in its revenues to just under 8 billion rand. Peter Stauder, Chief Executive of Tongaat, joins us on the line. Peter, it's all about your land, moorland. And in fact, if you want to be more specific, that 350 million rand deal that you did near King Shaka Airport.
That was certainly a very good deal for us. Itself and also for the whole region. The land around the airport is all earmarked for getting towards the place of an aerotropolis, and there are two organizations working on it, Deep Tradeport and ourselves. We bring different synergy to the whole topic. This was particularly land that they really wanted and where they see a potential end use quite soon. And in our particular case, we would have probably taken 10, 20 years to develop that. So it was a good deal for both of us, and it will all create a bit more stimulus around the airport.
Given the controversy that's erupting around the proposed Chinese development of AECR property at Modderfontein, it is now becoming more of a conversation piece in the business community about what you've done with your land that you had available, in fact, in developing it, and particularly the set of financial results will talk to that, as against others who see it as a quicker exit. Now, what got you thinking right in the beginning that it was more efficient to have your own development business?
Look, essentially, certain things are probably in your DNA as a corporate or not, and often your DNA can be a positive and a negative at the same time. Our DNA as Tongaat Hulett is very much one of winning marathons, so we always take a long-term view in conversations, and we believe if you work very hard on those marathons over a long period of time, you're often going to get into some sweet spots in part of your business. We've recognized a long time ago that sugarcane land around Durban will not stay there, so you'd have to find a mechanism to get new land under cane. This year alone, we're getting 8,000 new hectares in KZN under cane. And at the same time, you wanted to manage a little bit the processes how Durban expands into your cane land, and you want to do it in such a way that it creates a value for all stakeholders, not just for your shareholders. And there's often a very long-term process. If you take, for example, Gateway outside Umhlanga, we recognized in the 70s already that Umhlanga needed a new town center. When Old Mutual built Gateway, people thought they were crazy. And then now you look around that particular area, we just sold a piece of land there where we essentially realized per hectare 34 million, by the way, and everybody's happy with the land that they bought. So these are processes that we work through over a period of time, and that's in our DNA. The same as we talk about ethanol and electricity. They're long-term processes, but they're very critical for the sugar industry to diversify its revenue stream along the route. That would give you a bit of a sense of how we operate as a business.
Well, another way that you are perhaps a bit of an outlier is in your results today you talk about government infrastructure investment unfolding rapidly. Peter, there are not too many people in other companies who've had anything similar to say. Where do you get this insight from?
Because I think essentially people are a little bit critical sometimes of our government. The government is unfolding infrastructure all the time. So when you look in our particular case, if you go to Gateway, you will see they're working on that new interchange down there. So a lot of the roads are being established. When you go to the airport and you travel to our offices, you see a new road being built from what we call the Watson's Highway to the airport itself. The new pipelines being put in place for the north of Durban for water supply. The new effluent plants being built. So there is steadily an upgrade of the infrastructure taking place in South Africa. Obviously, when one can work together as a system and one can synergize a little bit, it helps that process.
Certainly there's a lot of action going on in KwaZulu-Natal, we know, Peter, but elsewhere it seems to be a little less aggressive. Just to close off with, there's been a lot of discussion around the world now about health issues. They're coming into the forefront. You're primarily a sugar company, although you do have land and starch. Are these things that, from a long-term perspective, you're worrying about?
Oh, not really. I think to see a world without salt and sugar and without sweetness, your food would be, quite boring along the route. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it, but the reality is that we've been using for centuries, sugar and salt in food. We just mustn't use too much.
Peter Studer, Chief Executive of Tongaat. I like that little bit of pithy advice there.